最後にジョージ・ワシントン大学教授マイク・望月先生にご講演いただきます。マイク・望月先生は日本の金沢で生まれ、アメリカ・テキサス州のエルパソで育った日系3世でおられます。ブラウン大学にて学士号、ハーバード大学で政治学博士号を取得され、東京大学法学部へも留学されております。その後、エール大学、南カリフォルニア大学の教員、ランド研究所上級政治学者、ブルッキングス研究所上級研究員などを経て、現在はジョージ・ワシントン大学の教授をお務めでいらっしゃいます。専門は日本の政治及び外交政策、日米関係、アジア安全保障でございます。それではマイク・望月先生、ご講演お願いいたします。
Thank you very much. I really want to express my deep appreciation for my friends in the Okinawa Prefectural Government for organizing this forum and also giving me the opportunity to participate again. One of the problems in going last in this panel is that just about everything that I wanted to say has already been said, and it's been said much better than I would have been able to have said, so there's very little for me to add. So what I would like to do in the limited time that's remaining in this panel is just to highlight a few things that have already been said and give my own spin on this. As Professor Park mentioned, the concept of comprehensive security originated in Japan in the late 1970s under the Ohita administration. And that concept emerged at a particular point in time when there was détente between the United States and the Soviet Union, détente between the United States and China, and the normalization of relations between Japan and China. So this was a period in which there was a general reduction in tensions, and the importance of comprehensive security, as Professor Park mentioned, is that it was an attempt to look at security beyond the traditional military concerns to emphasize such things as food security and energy security. And after the end of the Cold War, it seemed that the time for comprehensive security had really arrived, and many academics in the United States and in Europe began to focus on non-traditional security. And even after 9/11, after the terrorist attacks on New York and Washington, D.C., there was still a feeling that the notion of comprehensive security and the importance of looking at non-state actors was the critical thing in security studies. And it's quite impressive that in the national security strategy of the administration of George W. Bush, there was a major theme that despite the terrorist attacks, that it is virtually unthinkable that there would be a conflict among the major powers. But unfortunately, as all of the speakers have said so far, that over the last several years, the world seems to be changed. It may be an era of despair, as Professor Takahata has indicated. And on this 100th anniversary of World War I, we tend to think that maybe there is a reemergence of a world of great power competition and even great power conflict, especially with the rise of China and the reemergence of Russia as an independent geopolitical actor. And so I certainly agree with Professor Takahata and the other speakers that the challenge today is to try to reduce tensions. Now, of course, the policies that are being taken by the United States and Japan has been right in many respects in terms of emphasizing the importance of deterrence. And in that sense, I very much support the policies of President Obama to rebalance to the Asia-Pacific region. But as I stated when I was at the earlier forum last October, that although deterrence is important, it is by no means sufficient to achieve comprehensive security. And I think this has been said by all of the speakers, that one of the things that is lacking in the region is strategic trust. There is an incredible trust deficit, especially in Northeast Asia. And then as we see the deterioration of relations between China and the Philippines and China and Vietnam, there is now a growing trust deficit in Southeast Asia as well. And so I think one of the challenges of comprehensive security over the coming decade is how we can promote, strategic trust, not just to reduce tensions. And the notion of trust is a new concept in the study of international politics in political science, but I think it's something that deserves much greater attention. In order to promote trust, I think you need a number of measures or number of pathways for that end. And I would just like to highlight 5 pathways. One is to have prolonged periods of cooperation about discrete issues. Even if there are conflicts of interest, to try to achieve even modest areas of cooperation and keep promoting those instances of cooperation and prolonged iteration. That's the first thing. The second thing in terms of promoting trust is you have to deal with the legacy of history, because it's the past behavior that shapes whether or not you trust a person or a country. I mean, it applies to all human societies. And so in that sense, the second path to building strategic trust is promoting historical reconciliation. And I would say that the promotion of historical reconciliation is just as important as deterrence in terms of security policy. The third is people-to-people exchanges. And it seems that at the youth forum this morning, there was quite a bit of emphasis on that. And there should be cultural exchanges, tourism, youth exchanges, educational exchanges. A fourth pathway to building strategic trust is to search and develop a common identity and shared values. And I agree very much with Professor Takahata that we live in perhaps an era of despair where there are no models, but I think it's quite important for us to search for what things we hold in common, what values we hold dear, and to develop a common identity. In Europe, it has become increasingly impossible to think about a general war. And one reason for that is that there has been a development of a European identity. And then finally, and this pivots off of what Professor Takahata and others have mentioned, is the importance of norms and rules, the institutionalization of norms and rules so that there are shared expectations about behavior. And so I think the key challenge over the next decade is the promotion of strategic trust. Now, I started out with the importance of cooperation in various areas, and here I think the agenda of comprehensive security provides areas in which states can cooperate on discrete issues, and by prolonging periods of cooperation, one can ultimately build strategic trust. One area is, of course, energy security. Right now, it seems that energy security is one of the reasons why we have the possibility of major power conflict. But if one looks carefully at the energy situation today, things may not be so bleak. Despite the rising demand in energy, in large part because of the rise of China, the rise of India, and the industrialization of many other countries, we are now in the middle of what I would call a structural transformation of global energy markets. With the shale oil and gas revolution, it's quite likely that the United States will be self-sufficient in energy and might even become a major exporter of energy resources. And given that, I think countries can have a much more relaxed attitude about energy security and move away from what some people have called the cult of energy insecurity. And because of that, then I think it is possible to promote cooperation on energy issues in terms of joint development, energy efficiency, in terms of stockpile of energy resources, cooperation regarding nuclear safety. Secondly, another area of comprehensive security is environmental security. Now, of course, it's right to worry about the threat from ballistic missiles and the possibility of war because of territorial disputes. And there's a great deal of uncertainty in the Asia-Pacific. But at the end of the day, I think a much greater threat to the lives and security of the people in the world, and especially in the Asia-Pacific, comes from environmental degradation and pollution. I mean, there's uncertainty about military threats, but there is certainty about the threat of environmental degradation and environmental pollution. Pollution can travel through the air, can travel through the rivers and waters in the region. And this demands collective and cooperative action among states. And so I think this challenge of environmental degradation and climate change offers an opportunity for states that are competing on the military front to find ways of cooperating and ultimately building trust. Now finally, turning to the role of Okinawa, all of the speakers have mentioned how Okinawa is a special place and it can play a special role in terms of promoting comprehensive security. And I would agree wholeheartedly with that. The one thing that I would emphasize for Okinawa is the importance of developing human capital. Okinawa can become an intellectual center for the study of energy efficiency and environmental protection. It can become a center for promoting historical reconciliation and justice in East Asia. It can become a center for the study of health and longevity and the quality of life This is an issue that I'm becoming increasingly interested in as I move into the ranks of senior citizens. But here, in order for Okinawa to contribute in these areas, it should continue to develop its human capital to nurture citizens of Okinawa who have global and international perspectives, who have strong foreign language skills, and who can contribute and participate in international dialogues and research projects. And it's really through the development of this human capital that Okinawa can enhance its presence and contribution to Asia-Pacific security. Thank you very much.
マイク望月先生、ありがとうございました。